there's a lot of debate and I guess controversy as to who ultimately are going to be the 26 men that are going to represent the United States when it comes to the World Cup. All right, which position will you start with here, Mosse?
Well, we're going to tackle strikers and wingers today.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, looking at the 26-man squad, most people are figuring it'll be about 8 or 9 players between those two positions. Some people even doing 10. But keep in mind, there are some hybrid players like Malik Tillman, Christian Roldan, Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson, where you could employ them as midfielders or wingers. So,
and we think it's going to be the 4-3-3 with those 3 players in that midfield and those 3 players up top. And so we are including both of these strikers and wingers as one or multiple players that are going to play in that top 3, shall we call it?
So let's do striker first.
Okay.
So I think most of us feel like it's 4 guys fighting for 3 spots, which would be Ferreira, Sargent, and Pepe, who are in the last squad, and then Pefok right now on the outside looking in. You do have guys like Haji Wright and Brandon Vasquez also in the general mix, but did you buy that we're down to those 4 fighting for those 3 spots?
Yes. 5, right?
So you would include Haji Wright in that?
I would include Haji Wright only that he has been there before, and someone like Brandon Vasquez has not been there before, and who knows about this? I'm not talking about this camp coming up, this strange camp that's happening with MLS players here. But I think that Gregg Berhalter has pretty much established that he's going to go with the ones that brung him, right? And being a part of the group that he talks about a lot, I think he gives that incredible credence and importance relative to others. So I would consider him in that group. I still don't think he is going. To your point, I think he's only taking 3, and he's been kind of pretty clear over the last couple of months that that's something that he wants to do. I'd take 4, but he's gonna ultimately take 3. And so the incumbent we've talked about, Jesus Ferreira. He is not, and we were recording this on Monday, as we mentioned, Dallas out of the playoffs right now. So he is one of those players who now is going to have multiple weeks before that first game against Wales where he is not playing games, although he will be training. I do think that he is the incumbent. I don't think anybody looks at him right now as playing out of his mind, as opposed to someone like Ricardo Pepi, who we know is now on that loan to Groningen and continues to just score goals and is feeling good about what's going on, and maybe that's where he needed to go in order to score goals. But goals can shade things, and goals can give you a false sense of security, even when it comes to goal scorers. I've said before that I don't think Pepe is yet in the position where he would be one of my 3. I would take Jesus Ferreira, I would take Josh Sargent, and I would take Jordan Pefok. But with what Ricardo Pepi is doing right now, it would not surprise me if Gregg Berhalter took Jesus Ferreira, Ricardo Pepi, and Josh Sargent, and Pefok, who we know was left off this previous roster, doesn't make it from a Gregg Berhalter perspective if he's only taking 3. And like I said, I don't think Haji Wright is going to be involved, even though he has been involved in the past.
Did Jesus Ferreira's performance in these MLS playoffs concern you, particularly the Minnesota game? He was awful and nothing special against Austin. I mean,
so if you're a striker and you score goals, you've had a good game. If you don't score goals, you haven't had a good game. And I know that's simplistic, and again, that in and of itself can give you a warped perception of what the reality of a player is. I actually saw Jesus Ferreira kind of doing what we expect in dropping deep and not really playing. I mean, actually playing the false 9 in the way that he just shows up different places. He didn't have a standout game, and he didn't have a standout type of moment where you were oohing and awing about him. And therefore, as U.S. men's national team fans, it doesn't give us a great sense of security and hope going forward if Jesus Ferreira is ultimately starting. And so you just hope that when the World Cup ultimately comes, that a different version of Jesus Ferreira is there. Not that he's playing completely differently, but ultimately he's being a lot more effective and doing the most important thing up there, which is scoring goals.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.